The show-off show that sits at the front of the class shouting, me, sir, me, sir, me, while other quiz shows are snogging behind the bike sheds. Tonight, we're celebrating genius with 4 of the most brilliant minds in the country. The Einstein of entertainment, David Mitchell. The Da Vinci of drollery, Dara O'Brien. The Galileo of gags, Graham Norton. And the Morecambe of wise, Alan Davis. But before our SWAT team of SWATs don their white coats and clever clogs, we should hear their buzzers. And Dara goes...
University College Dublin, O'Brien.
David goes...
Peterhouse Cambridge, Mitchell.
Graham goes...
University College Cork, Norton.
And Alan goes...
Can I have a pee, please, Bob?
Oh, that's actually completely unfair because Alan is, in fact, a graduate of the University of Kent and he actually holds an honorary doctorate. So, Alan, could you press your buzzer again? We put it right.
The doctor will see you now!
Now, we have a very difficult first question, so I'm going to give you a bit of help. What I'd like you to do, you should have a bit of tissue somewhere near you.
Can't see anything.
No. Have you got tissues anywhere?
Yeah.
I want you to stick a piece of tissue up your left nostril.
Right.
Like as if you had a nosebleed or something. This is weird, OK? Left nostril. Very good. You've all passed that test. Well, 2 of you have.
Still working. I'm going for real penetration.
Yes.
Well, I can feel that there.
Whoa! It came out your ear. That would be a worry. All right. Now say something intelligent.
A squared equals B squared plus C squared.
That's very good.
Pythagoras' theorem, you know.
Yeah, excellent. Well, now, what this is about... Do you breathe through your left nostril mostly, or right nostril, or both nostrils?
My arse.
Aye.
I've always suspected that one works better than the other, but I've never kept a note of which it is.
Well, you won't be surprised to hear that some people do keep notes of how people breathe.
Does it not alternate?
You're right, Dara O'Brien. It does alternate. It has a periodicity of 4 hours. You swap from being mostly left to mostly right. And what's completely weird is that you answer questions on different types of subject better according to which side you're breathing through.
Am I going to asphyxiate about 12:30?
You might, actually. That's a very good point. You are allowed to breathe through your mouth if you want to.
Should we be keeping notes of when you know, of what shift work our nostrils are on? So that, it's the left will be in charge from 1 till 4. That's when I should be doing sort of maths-based things, like my tax return. If I'm going to write a poem, I'll wait till the more creative right nostril comes on the screen at about 4 p.m.
Well, actually, if you're breathing through your right nostril, you should be better at visual and spatial tasks. If
Right.
you're breathing
So right
through...
now?
Yes, that's it. You should be good at visual and spatial things.
Well,
and if you block the right one, you should be better at verbal things. I know it sounds mad, but you've probably heard of the study in '89 called Unilateral Nostril Breathing Influences Lateralised Cognitive Performance by Block, Arnott, Quigley and
So
Lynch.
why don't all sports people constantly block their left nostrils?
Well, actually, you've probably seen one. A lot of sports, they put a piece of elastoplast. Plaster.
Oh, that's
the anti-snoring little thing.
Right.
They do that to wind, so they're both open at the same time, so they get maximum, I guess.
And often they snort drugs as well.
They don't.
When we watch a sports person with one of those things on, they're not only at their best at sport, they're also at their most verbally dexterous.
Indeed. And visually and spatially, because they've got both wide open.
Otherwise, they can't even go, mine.
No, what have you got? What have you found?
I think I lost the end.
Oh. Oh, dear.
It'll reappear, won't it?
Somewhere.
Yeah. You'll cry it out at some point. Are these going on eBay?
They could do. You want to sign it?
All right.
Yeah, go on. But if you
I
block...
think I've already left my mark.
Blocking the right nostril makes you more emotionally negative, it appears, according to another study. A higher score on the Spielberger State Anxiety Inventory. So if you wish to feel slightly more cheerful, don't block the right nostril.
So that's why now...
Now you're quite calm.
Yes.
You're quite bouncy and happy, aren't you? No. You see, you block the right nostril and you're very... It's terribly sad. I'm horrible. But if you keep them in, I'm going to ask you a question that will test your visual spatial.
Which one
in
am
the
I in?
left.
Left?
Keep them in left, OK. Yeah, because it seems that the quickest way to improve your verbal reasoning is to shove a tissue up your left nostril. So let's see how these tissues have worked. Consider, right, an n-dimensional hypercube and connect each pair of vertices to obtain a complete graph of 2 to the power n vertices.
Each of them?
Yeah. Then colour each of the edges of this graph using only the colours red and black. That's my question, what is the smallest number, the smallest value of n for which every possible such colouring must necessarily contain a single-coloured, complete subgraph with 4 vertices which lie in a plane?
6.
That is exactly what people used to think. That's amazing. Brilliant.
Further.
Absolutely extraordinary.
Further up there, further.
Yeah, until 2003, most graph theorists thought the correct answer was probably 6.
I can only apologise.
But...
Coming in here with your old graph theory knowledge, how dare you?
It's so difficult, isn't it, when you've got a busy showbiz lifestyle like yours to keep up with the graph theory?
Yeah.
Probably only 8 or 9 hours a day you're devoting to it now.
Well, I have to say, I've got Graham's number. Have
6.
you got Graham's number?
No. I don't have that sort of relationship.
You've not got that sort of relationship. There is such a thing, which is relevant to this, as Graham's number. But it's bigger than 6.
Of course it is.
It is really big. Try and think of a really, really big number.
17.
It's... Do you know what? It's even bigger than that. This number... All right, now get hold of this idea. This number is so big that all the material in the universe, right, couldn't make enough ink to write it out. It's called Graham's number, named after a fellow called Ronald Graham. And weirdly enough, scientists know that it ends in a 7. Which is really strange.
But how did it end in a 7? Could you just turn that into an 8 and then it's a bigger number?
It didn't say it was the biggest number ever. It's just this is
biggest than
Graham's
8.
number, which is huge. You could have another Graham's number. You could have Norton's number.
Graham Norton. I made it an 8 at the end.
But you can remove your tissues, incidentally. No.
I think I'll miss it now.
Oh, will you? OK. Keep it.
I'm worried about what might come out when I pull it.
The fact is, this problem is a graph problem, it seems. Imagine a cube with lots of different dimensions, where each corner of the shape is connected with red or black lines to every other. What is the fewest number of dimensions so that you must end up with at least one single-coloured square with the same coloured diagonals? Until 2003, they thought it was 6. Now it's been shown that it must be at least 11. The answer may well now be 12, but it's somewhere between 11 and Graham's number, that enormous number. Which is... There's quite a lot of room for error, isn't
Yeah.
it?
That's not really an answer, is it?
The greatest mathematical minds in the world just don't know what the answer is. It seems...
I don't understand the question.
Neither do I. Neither do
I
I.
imagine they don't either, to be honest. And they're really hoping nobody checks.
What they do know is it ends in a 7. Why are exams so much easier for youngsters these days? Yes.
Dublin or Breen?
Thank you very much. Firstly, are they actually easier these days, or are they simply marked more generously these days? It is just one of these things. I'm sorry, this may be a national thing that you do, but you have a tendency to presume that you have a very stupid generation of kids in this country. Then you set them a series of exams, they all get A's, and you go, well...
That proves they're stupid, yes.
It is a horrendous catch-22 if you're a 17-year-old.
My problem with exams, though, is that more and more people get A's. And so whether or not that's because they're getting more intelligent or the exam's getting easier or a bit of both, it still is defying the point of the exams. The point in exams is to tell people apart, not just to go, you're all great academically.
Yeah.
Everyone can be Professor of Latin. Share the Professor of Latin salary between you and starve.
Yeah. You're right, it should be done by percentile. That's the
Which
point.
is how it used to be done.
And that's the point of our IQ test. And what's interesting about the IQ test is that each year it gets better by 0.3%. So 3% every 10 years. Children get smarter, so they have to normalise. So if you go back to your great-great-grandparents, they would be, under the Mental Health Act of 1983, retarded. They would be actually, because they would have an IQ of 70.
My great-grandfather signed his marriage certificate with a cross.
But his name was Xavier.
I don't think it was.
Or perhaps you should have used a pen.
The only thing that you might say is quite sober and interesting about this thing, it's called the Flynn effect, the fact that people are getting better and better at it, is under American law, if you have an IQ of 70 or less, you cannot be executed for a capital crime. You're considered retarded, and therefore Flynn has often had to go. You know, people might have an IQ of 72, which means they're going to die. And he will say, but this was taken when he was a child.
Surely.
And actually, revising upwards, the 100 norm, he's actually 68 or something. So he is technically retarded, and he can save lives by doing that.
Quite
it's a very
easy to
weird.
throw an IQ test, I'd have thought.
Yeah, but they're taking as children. That's the point.
They're not smart enough to throw an IQ test. They're smarter to realise.
But they're
And also, that is
taken
really
as children,
planning a
that's the
murder. If you're
point.
7, going, I'll put a circle in here. That means 15 years you're dead.
It's kind of the reverse of the sort of eugenicist argument that the Americans are using, where they're letting the stupid live, though.
But anyway, young people find IQ tests easier than their parents because apparently they're exposed to more problem solving in their life. Maybe geniuses are born, not made, and if so, how would you create a genius? Is there a way of ensuring a genius?
Breeding 2 geniuses together.
Well,
Giving them a high-fibre diet. Exposed to lots of vitamin D from the sun.
you mentioned eugenicists earlier. Tell me what eugenics is, then.
Yeah, tell us about your theory of eugenics, James.
I'm not sure. Is it sort of generally trying to breed people to be brighter and stronger and better at things, and stopping people from breeding if you think they might have stupid or feeble
People
kids?
farming.
Yeah,
Not
people
basically,
farming.
as
People husbandry, isn't it?
Yeah. And as Alan said, Nazism, of course, is the thing that... There were people of quite respectable antecedents and liberal points of view before Nazism who believed that eugenics may be a good idea.
Lots of them.
But Bernard Shaw and many others.
But sometimes I did a game show in America a while ago, and there was a contestant on it, this woman, and her sort of interesting fact, her fun fact about herself was that her father had been a serial killer, right? And her other fun fact was she hadn't told her husband that her father was a serial killer till after they were married. So, you know, it's a light-hearted thing, but I'm trying to say to her now, you know, do you think maybe your husband would have been concerned about having children, given that there's, you know, a serial killer in you somewhere? And she went, no, he's been through similar things. His father committed suicide. And you just thought, you've a serial killer and a suicide man, and you thought that was a good gene pool to be splashing around in.
You give birth to a child who kills himself lots of times. It's a serial suicide. It's terrifying.
When you say after she'd married him, how long? Was it before the speeches? Dad's about to say a few words. This might be worth catching.
This may explain why he went with orange.
The only one with plastic cutlery at the wedding.
Why are they wheeling your dad up to take over his face?
I suppose what you'd do then is you'd have her come as a serial killer-themed wedding.
Well, can we just go back to the past? And on this subject of creating geniuses, who was one of the great geniuses?
Or Da Vinci.
Da Vinci is exactly the man I was after. He was known to be a genius in his own time. I mean, they knew how astoundingly great he was. His brother Bartolomeo actually... actually...
No, that's awful.
This Bartolomeo married, and he decided he wanted their child to be like his brother Leonardo. And oddly enough, it sort of worked. There's Leonardo dying, and it shows he was, you know, he was kind of worshipped almost. They realised how great he was.
What's Rodney Bewes doing in the background? It's defo Rodney Buse.
He does look quite Rodney Buse.
Rodney Buse is the Highlander, is he?
What a weird, unsettling thing to discover that would be, in the context of the credit crunch and everything, suddenly to discover that Rodney Buse was immortal. I mean, can you imagine on the news sort of going, and today it emerged that actor Rodney Buse has been alive for as long as time.
So what is, given the things we've been talking about where I'm pretending to know what you're talking about, I actually really don't know who Rodney Buse is.
Oh. Do you remember the Likely Lads and then
Lads.
whatever happened to the Likely Lads?
We didn't get that in Ireland, did we?
No.
Oh, well, there's James Bolam and
I know who
Rodney
he is.
Well, Rodney Buse. They played a couple
That's
of...
basically him there.
All right.
Holding Leonardo da Vinci's hand.
The chances of me meeting him in the future are very high.
And I have to say, the whole point about QI, right, is that the rest of the world talks about cultural things, reality TV and pop stars and Rodney Buse, and we talk about Leonardo. And what you've done by coming on is we started... No, you, actually. We started talking about Leonardo and we've arrived at Rodney Buse.
Well,
That's the wrong direction.
I didn't even know who he was!
You're right. You're so right. I'm sorry. I was very unfair on you, Graham.
I was wafting in the rarefied air of Leonardo.
You're right.
I think that...
The stink bomb of Rodney Buse has
Let off.
exploded over
Boy
there.
at the back, you're
To
right.
me, Rodney Buse looks older there than Rodney Buse in our present time. So I think Rodney Buse must, in the future, travel back in time to check Leonardo da Vinci's pulse. Make absolutely sure he's dead. Using the futuristic technology of pulse checking. The others there are all going, what's this weirdo Rodney Buse doing? To the one on the right, he's got his head in his hands. So embarrassing.
Why is he holding his hand?
James Bolam.
Yeah. Yes, Leonardo was such a genius. He predicted the Likely Lads.
And he's gutted because he wanted James Bolam and Rodney Buse's turn. That's why I was going, oh no, it's Buse.
Yeah. I think the one on the right has definitely got his hand on his head for that reason.
Yeah. We ordered John Cleese and Connie Booth.
The one on the left is gesturing towards Rodney Buse as if to say, Leonardo, who's this dick?
Grab your
He's
hand.
going to go, seriously? Rodney Buse? You wanted Rodney Buse here as a doctor?
Well, that's Matthew Kelly anyway. The one...
Oh, no! Oh, don't let it be Matthew Kelly. Oh, Lord. I've now got a horrible feeling that the Brian Blessed on the end has had his head sawn off. And his brain taken out. But he's no longer Brian Blessed. He's turned into somebody else. I don't know how that can be. Anyway, I wanted to discuss the fact that, unbeknownst to him, when Leonardo died, he had a nephew called Pierino, who was brought up to be a genius, and actually kind of was. He was sent to Florence, and he demonstrated great talent, but sadly, he died at age only 22, leaving 20 works behind him.
Pushed out of a window by Michael.
Yes, or possibly by Mozart.
Working in tandem.
Yeah, exactly. The two, you can't...
Having stolen Rodney Buse's time-travelling technology.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. Anyway, which was the first animal to be cloned?
Oh, well, I can't be, so it's...
It's not Dolly the sheep, then.
No, you're right. It isn't Dolly. You've all been so good at avoiding my little honey traps. No.
But I thought it was Dolly the sheep. It's not.
Not the first animal, no. We have to go back to the 1880s for the first cloning. Really? Yeah. It was a sea creature, actually.
An octopus or something.
No, it was a sea urchin. There's one. This was a German called Driesch who did it in 1885. But in 1902, another German, Hans Spemann, cloned a salamander. And he used a rudimentary noose, right, to separate the cells of the embryo. And the noose was made of the hair of a human baby. And he used it as like a little lasso to separate. Isn't that marvellous?
That is fiddly work.
It is very fiddly work, I've got to say,
There
yeah.
must have been lots of times where he's going, okay. Could I please have another baby's hair?
Back to the baby.
All the people
One guinea, madam.
trying to keep him calm. Would you like another? No, I don't want another coffee. I don't want
Go. Do you want me to have a go? No, I don't.
Oh, you're so right. But Dolly was in 1996. Dolly the sheep is the one that you cleverly avoided. But why Dolly? Why called Dolly? Do you know?
It was named after Dolly Parton because the cell came from the mammary glands.
Correctly, Correctington. Well done, sir. Excellent. Only points.
I think there was a point where they go, we can just get another sheep and say, yeah, there it is, it's genetically identical, that one. There, those two sheep look similar. Well, that's because they're genetically identical.
Well, oddly enough, things can be genetically identical and rather surprising because the first cat to be cloned was called Rainbow and her clone was known as CC. And there. You say, now, how can that...
Well, they didn't put the effort into
No,
it.
you're going to say, you see.
When they trolled the pet shop through that little faker, they could have they could have at least sent the guy who they sent to get the other kitten with a photo of the original. Not just get any cat.
Yes. The little kitten is called CC. Points if you can guess what that stands for.
Cat clone?
Whittier. What sort of Whittier? Say? Points to the audience. Copycat, you see. Very good, yeah. The operation was known as Operation Copycat, obviously. It's part of a larger project to clone a dog, which was...
That's a bit...
Well, it was called Missy, the Missiplicity, named after a dog named Missy. And the world's first cloned dog from Korea is called Snappy.
And they ate it.
Of course. Well, anyway, the point is the first animal to be cloned was the sea urchin way back in 1885. Since then, many other animals have, of course, been given the treatment, including the first cloned cats, which look nothing like each other. No, it doesn't take a genius to know that it's time to look for some general ignorance. So, fingers on buzzers, if you would. How old are you?
Cork,
yes.
Norton.
How old do I look?
See you!
How old do I feel?
Just shows you the effect of this game, though. You ask a question, all four of us think that is something I definitely know the answer to. I've been made so uncertain. And I'm not even willing to give my own age, name, or address.
How can this possibly be a trap?
Yeah.
I am 37. No, 37.
Dublin, O'Brien.
Yeah,
There we go, no points lost.
We should all do it. I bet you've got some right and wrong.
Peterhouse, Mitchell.
34, eh?
34.
Oh, 34. Yeah. You don't want to do this. You
I'll
don't
do it. I've worked a grand more than
Cork,
46. I'm not doing it.
Well, obviously, as the baby that was, called Graham or Dara or David or Alan was, arrived on the planet the number of years ago that you said, but that's not how old you are if I touch you. If I touch your arm, how old is that arm? Is that as old as that?
It's like 6 weeks old or something like that.
Is it 5 years we replace our entire...
There
all
are
of
different
ourselves?
bits of one, that's right. There are different bits of one that take... Some of them...
Your cells regenerate.
Your red blood cells last only 120 days. A liver has a turnaround time of 300 to 500 days, sort of 1.5 years.
Hurry up.
The entire human... Give it a chance to recover. The entire human skeleton is replaced every 10 years or so. So all your bones...
Really?
Replaced, yeah.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, they're replaced in an aged way, rather annoyingly, rather than a brand new
So they're
way.
replaced with second-hand ones.
Well, not exactly used, no, but...
I'm thinking of trading in my 8-year-old Mazda for an 8-and-a-bit-year-old Mazda.
I'm afraid that's how it goes, yeah. It's all rather unfortunate. So an adult's body may turn out as usually somewhere between 7 and 10 years old in terms of its cells, though some of the cells are much, much younger. And 98% of the 7 billion atoms in the human body are replaced yearly.
Do you know, I think some of my socks are older than I am.
That's a marvellous thought.
Yeah, I feel I should defer to them.
Yes. You've been around longer than me. But most of the cells in your body are not your own. They're not human.
This is bacteria.
Yes, they're
things.
bacteria,
Yes.
yeah. In fact, more than 500 different species of them. They make up more than 10 times the number of human cells. Isn't that interesting? On average, all the cells in your body are only 10 years old or so. Now, how did the Church of England originally react to Darwin's theory of evolution?
Well, they weren't happy about it.
They weren't happy about it.
Dublin or Breed?
They didn't get it, I don't think. Nobody really got it for a while. He delivered it to a meeting of the Royal Society, I think it was, and people just kind of went, oh, OK.
That's true of his original paper, but when he published On the Origin of Species, it was a massive bestseller. In fact, it sold out even before it was printed. And he was a gigantic figure of his time. He was one of only 5 people, not royal, to be given a burial at Westminster Abbey. And they absolutely understood his greatness. And the surprising thing is the Church were not that worried at all. They specifically said Church of England. But for many years, most churchmen had encouraged people to believe that a lot of the Bible is metaphorical and it's not literally true. But if there's anything shocking about it to them, it was that it shows nature doesn't care.
Yeah.
The idea of a lineal evolution they thought was fine. That might have been part of God's plan. But if your true understanding of evolution also shows that nature is completely horrific.
That was a major part the Victorians hated because they thought they loved their countryside and they loved bird song.
Mrs. Alexander's, you know, all things bright and beautiful.
Yes,
so
and instead they're locked in a vicious struggle for survival
exactly.
where
all animals are hungry and afraid and they die before they get old, and it's a miserable, hard life.
Unless they live in zoos, where they're quite stress-free.
It is. It's a life they wouldn't expect in the wild. Yeah. So, On the Origin of the Species was widely respected by mainstream churchmen at the time of its publication. And finally, how many brains did the man with 2 brains have?
2.
Yes. That's brilliant. Yeah, he's wise enough to have spotted double bluff.
It's just the technique of the bully. You go, you hit us. And then you go, oh, what do you think I was going to hit you? I'm not going to hit you. Oh, I'm just as my hand to stroke you. And we're here being...
That's exactly what we do. The fact is, Dr. Michael Gershon has proved that we all have 2 brains. Your gut has its enteric nervous system, and it's the only part of our body that can operate perfectly if all connection is cut from the upper brain, from the real brain, the brain we call the brain, as it were. It doesn't have the intelligence and consciousness that a brain has, but it operates separately. So in that sense, we do have 2 brains.
How bright would our stomachs be in the animal kingdom? Would they be cleverer than an octopus?
I doubt it. I think they're just good at one thing, and that's preparing poo for exit. Because basically, it's not even the stomach, it's below it is the gut. It's the greater and lesser intestine and the colon, essentially, are the bits with the brain. Like all of us, the man with 2 brains actually did have 2 brains, according to the latest thinking. The gut does act as a separate brain. So pens down and stop writing. That's it for our exam today, geniuses. Time to mark your papers. Well, my goodness, my gracious. A newcomer with -19, Graham Norton. In third place with -8, David Mitchell. In second place with a very respectable -7, Dara O'Brien. Which can only mean that today's geniuses of genius is Alan Davis with 4 points. That's all from QI. My thanks go to Graham, Dara, David and Alan, and I leave you with our genius Leonardo da Vinci's favourite joke. It was asked of a painter why, since he made such beautiful figures, which were but dead things, why his children were so ugly, to which the painter replied that he made his pictures by day but his children by night.
Alistair McGowan is your host. Next on BBC One with more top comic talent on stage, live at the Apollo.